whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Can't twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak just my mind. Oh. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're chilling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Super Bowl Sunday's tomorrow. Chiefs versus 49ers. Had an interesting week. Weather's been kind of crappy. Relatively decent, mild week, but it was a little wild on the work side. But I digress. What is going on, everybody? My name is Julian Stoutt. I am a licensed personal trainer, licensed PE teacher, world record powerlifter, special education health teacher, here to take the fear out of health and fitness. And the thing that this channel will primarily focus on is what goes on with the human body. How we can navigate this, how we can push through certain thresholds, how we can progress in our society physically to not only be accepting of others' physical capabilities, but also to not be delusional and be more honest about who it is we are as these things, these animals we call human beings. And one of the reasons why I am passionate about fitness is because earlier in my life, I personally lost a teacher. And that teacher that I lost him when I was 12, going on 13. And he was my drama teacher. And he died of HIV. And the thing is, HIV/AIDS related illnesses. And the thing is that it eventually sparked an interest in me to want to educate people on how this disease works. Now, I'm not going to go into HIV and AIDS because I've done that in other videos in the past. Go ahead and check out my catalog. You will actually see it. However, the misinformation of sexually transmitted diseases, or the information of sexually transmitted diseases and the behaviors that coincide with that, is the thing that I personally want to go into in this video, because you guys are going to be in for a treat. Because as you can see, the thumbnail title is Virginity a Social Construct? And I'm going to say yes, but for good reason. I'm not going to be one, I'm not going to be a stick in the mud and pretend like sexual activity does not take place amongst your children, our children, ourselves as adults. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it does not happen. Sometimes prematurely, sometimes much maturely, no matter the age of the individual. And when I say within age, I am not talking about adult to child. I'm talking specifically to children who are mature to interact with other children in that fashion, if that's what they so choose. we can't particularly necessarily stop it unless the rules and regulations that we hold as adults in our households takes hold in the dynamics between our children. However, what I am not for is the manipulation of children to push an agenda that seems rather on the asinine side. Now, I have watched this video through another channel, which was through the Crimson Cure, and I literally cannot wait to destroy this video because there's so much in that video that I saw that perplexes me to no end that I am going to explain that yes, virginity is a social construct. However, that social construct has been put in place for a reason, for wisdom, for knowledge, for safety, and your health. But I digress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen once this video pops up. Okay, so let's go ahead and expand my view here. And I'm going to go full.
Virginity. What is it? And what's the big deal about losing it? Let me cut to the chase. Virginity is a completely made-up concept. It's a term that was created simply to control and shame people, mainly women.
Yes and no. Okay, first thing is, virginity is not completely made up. You either had sex or you didn't have sex. Whatever version of sex you want to include in that, that's your choice. Anal, vaginal, oral. You are not a virgin. If you had sex, period. End of story. It is not meant to shame anybody. We have perverted it into shame, but it is not shame in the sense of just, oh, you're not a virgin. Well, in a way, yes. Actually, you know what? I'll admit it. Yes, it is. But that was to keep a community on the safe side, to keep it on the level, as opposed to just wild west chaos happening all around you. I'm going to give you an example. It's going to be off topic, but it's going to be on topic. I was a complete, utter knucklehead from the later stages of middle school all the way to the middle stages of high school. And when I say knucklehead, I wasn't, doing really ignorant things, but what I was doing was I was not paying attention to my education. Let's put it that way. Okay? And in that process, something clicked in my head. I sat down with my guidance counselor as I did every year, and my guidance counselor turned around and said to me, at the rate you're going, you're not going to graduate when you're supposed to. You're slated to graduate in June of 1994, but as your credits have shown at this moment, you're not going to graduate in June of 1994. This conversation began to me, I believe it was early September of 1993. And let me tell you what I then decided to do. I decided to get my head out of my ass and actually do the work because of the shame that came with being the first grandchild of my loving grandmother on my mother's side, of her grandchildren to not graduate on time, that lived in New York City with her. I'm going to tell you right now, as a young man from New York, the roasting is real. I have family members that could confirm this. If they were to get on this live chat and actually hit me up and actually say a few things, I guarantee you they will definitely tell you, yo, You didn't want those problems. Because I promise you right now, to this day, I'm 46 going on 47 years old, and I promise you, to this day, they would bring it up. This is my 30th anniversary of my graduation, as a matter of fact. Ironically. And I would be the first one to not graduate when I was supposed to. And that level of shame and embarrassment, you did not want it. So, you being a virgin or not being a virgin is something that not being a virgin is something that we could definitely say was a shameful thing in our community if you were not a virgin. As a guy, honestly, you were made fun of if you were one, but that would be the side of the shame that I personally would look at and go, that's stupid. That's contradictory. It is hypocritical to turn around and suggest that girls can be virgins, but boys should not be. Now, here's the difference. Once you have become an adult, you should be knowledgeable about what sex is. You should be knowledgeable about how it transpires, how it occurs. Then, in that process, you should be able to then think about how you are going to go about interacting with the woman or man, in either gender's choice, of how you're going to interact with that individual when the time comes. Are your hormones raging? Of course. And the reason why virginity is a necessary thing is actually it is not to shame women, but to also control men. Think about it. If men could just randomly just run up on any female that they so choose and just pop it in and then go ahead and impregnate them, population control would be out of control. Because if men and women are indiscriminately having sex, think about it. Every day, 9 months on repeat, perpetually, a woman perpetually will be pregnant every 9 months. Perpetually be pregnant every 9 months. Sex will be rampant. And along with that, various kinds of diseases. Think back into medieval times. Think back into times where medicine was not as defined as it is now, where we can now know where these diseases come from. A lot of us used to think that diseases came from, God. Well, while they do in a different construct of thinking, we know biologically they happen because we interact with other beings, and interaction with those other beings then causes us to gain some viral load or some bacterial load that then manifests and festers and creates this thing where you now have a disease that can be transmitted sexually. However, if you simply think that it was not placed there for a reason or it was just made up, it wasn't. It's all made. Everything we do is made up if you really want to think about it from that standpoint. But saying it's completely made up to shame women is asinine and foolish. Because yes, everything we do, laws are meant to shame you. Hello? Think about it. You drink and drive, you go to jail. You go to jail, that's a shaming tactic. To get you to not drink alcohol, drive, and then crash it to another human being, or crash it to another human being in a vehicle, or crash yourself into a physical construct of some kind. Wall, building, fence, ravine, right? So this notion that it's a shame tactic is simply merely to shame women, again, nonsense. Because it is a social construct to shame you, but it is not merely to shame women. It is also used to control men. because there's another connotation to that. And that other connotation is marriage. And if you are in the manosphere of YouTube, you know that men control marriage. And if men control marriage, then and women control sex, then obviously the woman makes the pathway to her marriage because that man wants to have sex with her. On a basic level. Obviously, we need to know more, but here we go. But mainly women. Let's go.
A virgin is someone who's never had sex, but it's not as simple as it seems.
Yes, it is. It's that simple. Didn't have sex. Period.
For one thing, medically, virginity isn't a real thing.
Medically, virginity is not a real thing because medicine does not concern itself with virginity. It's just that simple. But let's keep going.
In some cultures, people place a lot of importance on the hymen, a thin, fleshy tissue located at the opening of your vagina, as a marker of virginity.
That's true.
But the status of your hymen doesn't actually mean anything.
That is also true. Okay? But if we're being honest, young ladies typically will use a tampon. But the thing is a tampon is usually meant as a stopgap measure, as a means to avoid bleeding on one's clothing. You also have maxi pads that do the same thing, but usually those are the ones that girls use at first because they do not want to be experiencing penetration of any kind in their child at an early age and just sticking any random thing up there because. So usually girls use maxi pads before they use a tampon. Usually tampon suggests usually, do not come for me with the nonsense of, oh, I bled like a sieve, therefore I used both. We already know that. Common sense, all right? But typically, when you as a parent initially introduce your child especially your daughter, into menstruation, you get them pads. You don't get them a tampon. Okay? Because also, it's a little weird trying to teach your daughter how to use one. But anyway.
That's because having penis and vagina sex is not the only way a hymen can stretch open.
True.
It can happen by putting something in your vagina like a tampon or a finger, riding a bike, or doing sports.
Oh, I don't know about that whole riding a bike thing. You rode the spoke? The seat itself ran up in you? Okay. Might want to rethink how your body functions if you can swallow a bike seat with your vajayjay. This make no sense. Finger, tampon, absolutely 100%. But bike seat? What were you doing with the bike seat? I want to know, because I'm confused.
So you can't tell if someone's had sex by the way their hymen looks or feels. Another reason the idea of virginity is complete nonsense is that sex means different things to different people.
No, it don't. There's 3 forms of sex if you're a human being. Period. Anal, oral, vaginal. Done. Game over. If you've done one of those 3 things, you're not a virgin. Did I miss something? Did I fall off a turnip truck? Did I just land on this planet for the first time in my 46 years of existence? Did I just finally reach Earth? Am I an alien all of a sudden? Doesn't matter your sexuality. Doesn't matter your gender orientation or your gender assignment. It doesn't matter, or lack thereof. It doesn't matter. You have either a penis, a vagina, or a anus and a mouth. You have one of those four things. As a matter of fact, you have two of those four things. You have a mouth and then you have an anus. You definitely have those two, regardless of whether or not you are trans, whether you're cis, whether you're anything else. It doesn't matter. You have two of those things. If any of those two things get penetrated, you are not a virgin anymore. If you acknowledge that you have a vagina, if it's penetrated, you're not a virgin anymore. With an object meant for sexual pleasure, you're not a virgin anymore. End of story.
Generally speaking, society tends to define sex in a very narrow way. Penetration, penis into vagina.
That's where she's capping, because again, I just explained anal, oral as well. What did I miss? Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. This video is designed to be viewed by middle school and high school students. I want you to keep that in mind.
But where does that definition leave queer people?
Anus, oral.
Or folks who can't or don't have penis and vagina sex?
Oral. Anal.
And choose to have oral, anal, or another type of sex instead.
Again, you do them, you're not a virgin anymore. Done.
And not everyone's first sexual experience is consensual.
Okay, so now we're getting into a weed that we're going to play games with, right? Your first sexual experience may not be consensual, and it may have been through a horrific event that would cause you to need therapy. But let me explain something to you. This is why it's not necessarily, this is why we have nuance in our society. I do believe if we were looking at our society and someone was SA'd, all right, just to keep you two out of the midst of this. If somebody was SA'd and then you met your person, specifically female to male. Let's stick to heterosexual activity here, because since she said it's a construct to control women, right? Let's say you met your person, whoever he or she may be, or they may be, and you want to have a sexual experience with them in matrimony, but you have to reveal to them, because obviously this is not going to be something you could keep under wraps before you get married. I mean, you can, but how honest is your relationship going to be if you have not spoken to your significant other about an SA that you have experienced in your lifetime before? So with that being said, you have that conversation and say, this is not my first time having any type of sexual activity. I had an SA in my past. However, it is not the experience that one experiences when they are with someone that they love, like, trust, and care about. So therefore, I can say that even though I am not traditionally a virgin, I have not experienced a pleasurable experience with another person other than you, which means in some variation, you are still a virgin. Lack of virginity is a social construct, meaning you had sex, you had an intimate interaction with another individual sexually. Therefore, you're not a virgin. You are of carnal knowledge. This is where the conversation needs to be had. if you were SA'd at any point, male or female, yes, you are not a virgin anymore in the literal sense, but you did not have an intimate relationship with someone prior to. You did not have an excuse my flubbering. You did not have an intimate reaction with a person of your choice. It was forced upon you. And therefore, it is not, I wouldn't consider it. Even if this type of activity was happening on a repeated basis to the point where you now know everything there is to know about the human body and how to pleasure it, you did not have that experience honestly of your own free will. So bringing up SA and the other R word in this conversation does not diminish the impact of what virginity is meant to be.
Meaning that they were forced or pressured into having sex. There is also a double standard on who carries the burden of virginity.
Now, this is the part where she has a point. She absolutely has a point because there is a double standard. Guys, but I'm about to debunk the other half of that argument. Guys are more celebrated amongst guys for having sex. Now, notice, guys amongst guys are celebrated for having sex. Women amongst women recently are now still celebrating that one is having sex. In the recent years, women are having more and more indiscriminate sex, similarly to that of what men were being accused of. But ironically, you need another person in order for that to happen. So therefore, if guys are having sex, who are they having sex with? If they're losing their virginity heterosexually, how are they doing that? Hell, even homosexually, how are they doing it? Somebody has to be giving it up, right? So therefore, there must be some people who still are not virgins in order for these young men not to be virgins. Okay? But again, I pointed out what's wrong with that. Why is it that men aren't being held to the same standard as women when it comes to virginity? Now,
society puts pressure on men for not having sex at the exact same time they shame women for having it. Make it make sense.
Men, not boys. That's the funny part. Men, not boys. Girls, not women. And the reason why is because I want you to point out, we don't shame women for not being virgins. Because if a woman was married, had sex for the first time with her husband, and immediately had some tragic event happen and her husband is now deceased, she's no longer a virgin. But guess what she also was? She was married, right? So when she goes to the next man, or when she meets another guy, and that guy is interested in her, and when they go through the laundry list of questions that they have, and he finds out that she is a widow, common sense is going to kick in, and he's going to realize, wait a minute, she had sex before. She must have if she was married, right? Does that make her less desirable? No. You want to know why? Because she was married. Right? And in that process of that marriage, she learned a few things on how to pleasure her husband. Now, a new man comes along after said widow. New man comes along, sees that she's a widow, knows that she's a widow, gets to know her, finds her attractive, gets to know that she is about something in her life, and therefore makes the decision to do the thing and marry her marry her and her marry him, having a marriage for a second time. What happened? Are we saying that because she wasn't a virgin, she wasn't valuable? We already know that that's BS. However, we're going to make it make sense now. Women will look at a man and find out if he's been pleasuring hundreds of women, thousands of women, and she finds out that she is number 1001 or 1002 or 2000 or 20,000. She's not going to be exactly thrilled to go jumping on this dude. Because you want to know why? Because every time you lay with somebody, you take a little bit of them with you. Male and female. And then here's the worst part. Let's say that man was somebody that you're number 1001. That means he took 1,000 women of all shapes, sizes, and level of cleanliness with him to you. Do you want that? Do you want to sleep with 1,000 women? Don't think so. So with that being said, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to know that if you as a guy is sleeping with a woman, you slept with a virgin, because now you are not spreading unnecessary diseases and you're not contracting unnecessary diseases. However, in the reality show that we call life, people move away from their morality and do heinous things. Sleep with other women, sleep with other men. Didn't specifically attach that to which gender. Note. Then all of a sudden you go and congregate back to your spouse, male or female, or trans. You go back to your spouse and then you commence to your carnal knowledge. Now what? You have given your spouse a disease because you didn't know that one of those other people had a disease that went along with it. Now guess what? Now there's 2 individuals. Now there's 4 individuals. There's 6 individuals. There's 20 individuals. There's 100,000 individuals with this said disease. If you as a female are a virgin, and you as a male are a virgin, and you are in seek of sexual activity, but you are in control of your emotions, you are in control of your body, you have self-control, what is going to happen is that you're going to discover that you are now populating the earth with children that you want. You are now populating the earth on a controlled basis, as opposed to the hookup culture that we have right now, where it's just random. I like you. I think you're cute. Let's go. All of a sudden, oops, condom broke. Now I got a kid. But then guess what? That relationship didn't work because we don't align with our values nor with our emotions. We don't align. So therefore, I don't even want to mess with you. But I think you could be a good mom, so I'm going to let that slide. But you could take care of my kid and we could take care of this child together. But now I move on. I get into another relationship, but this relationship is a little bit more real. It's a little bit more serious. And now all of a sudden I have sex with her. But then all of a sudden when I have sex with her, I am in thought that I'm going to be married to this woman. I then get married to this woman. I then impregnate this woman. But then later on, I find out that this woman is sleeping with other men. Now I leave her. Then on top of that, I find another woman. I get in a relationship with her. Then I get in a relationship with her. I then get into a serious relationship with her. But before I could pop the question, I turn around and I have sex with her. But then all of a sudden, before I do that, I meet another woman. And then I become unfaithful to the woman that I'm with and I get her pregnant. Do you see how this is going now? Now watch this. That is just 4 scenarios with one man. Now multiply that to every man on the planet. See how that becomes a problem? We're not saying that just the mere act of sex is a problem, because never in the history of ever is any religion tell you that sex is bad. It is indiscriminate sex. It is irresponsible sex. That is the problem. So your virginity is your calling card to whether or not are we maintaining a safe society. Because like we already noted, as far as sex is concerned, women are the gatekeepers of sex if you're in a heterosexual relationship. If you're not in a heterosexual relationship, we are all gatekeepers. Okay?
Either way, shame has no place in someone's personal decisions about sex.
Yes, it does. Want to know why? Let's get into the reasons why. You're sleeping with multiple people at the same time, and you're not being very safe about it. So everybody's all playing in the pool all at the same time. Everybody's swimming in the same pool all at the same time. Here's what I want y'all to do. Go ahead, pour a glass of water. And then when you pour that glass of water, stick your finger in it. Are you willing to drink it? Of course you are. It's your finger. Now, tell your homeboy, stick his finger in the water. Are you willing to drink it now? Probably not. Now take the other 4 dudes that are in her DMs that she's probably had some relations with and tell them to stick their finger in your water. Are you gonna drink it? I don't care if they wash their hands. They could wash their hands right in front of you. The minute they stick their finger in your water, you're gonna be totally grossed out. Because you don't know where their finger was prior to them washing their hands. You don't know where their fingers were if you don't even know if they washed their hands. You don't know where their finger has been. So now all of a sudden, we all are just cool with just jumping in the same pool and swimming. Make it make sense. Diseases spread because you keep going from person to person to person to person, whether it's through pleasure or whether it's through financial gain, whether it's through clout, it doesn't matter. You are jumping from tree branch to tree branch to tree branch, and I am not specifying only heterosexual relationships. I'm expressing all relationships. You just jumping off to the next one is just no. Having a relationship with someone and then having that relationship blossom and bloom is the reason why we have relationships. It's to control this mess. Black Plague, anybody? So I just want y'all to sit back and think about that as y'all go through these motions, as y'all go through these machinations of trying to manipulate the system to gaslight your children into believing that not being a virgin is okay. And when I say it's okay, if you've made a conscious decision to be with somebody, that's fine. It's the indiscriminate part that I have a problem with. And in this day and age, it's a hookup culture. It's not that I have a boyfriend. I like my boyfriend. And in that, I made the decision to have sex with my boyfriend. I don't plan or foresee me not being with that person. So if in the near future we decide to get married, it's still just me and them. On the flip side, for me, as a guy, I like this girl. I really do. I want to be with her. However, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I learn through conversation, through video instruction, whatever, what have you. And then when I do, me and this young lady have made a decision to do what we did. And then, but I don't foresee myself not being with her. So therefore, I have still maintained control over it. So it's not about, oh, you're not desirable because you've had sex a couple of times. You're not a virgin anymore. You cannot, I can't, no. God, this is so silly.
It's time to throw away the notion of losing your virginity. What if instead of losing something, we reframe it as gain?
Why would you want to reframe it? What are you reframing it for? What is the purpose of reframing it? You lost your virginity. End of story. You are no longer a virgin. You are no longer innocent. You bit the apple. What other version of the story do you want me to give you? You're no longer innocent. You are no longer of a lack of information. You are no longer naive. Doesn't mean anything at the moment. Doesn't mean you're disgusting because you had sex. Doesn't mean you're a great person because you didn't have sex. But at the same time, what we're not trying to do is influence our children that just sex without conscience is a good thing. And this is what she's trying to paint it as, is sex without a conscience. Just like eating without a conscience. Would you suggest to your children that eating is... Look at what happens when you eat without conscience. I did that video last week. Look what happens. When you eat without conscience, there are consequences. So what do you think the consequences are going to be when you have sex without conscience? Sexually transmitted diseases, pregnancies, unwanted pregnancies at that. And then what are you going to do? It's your choice, mind you. But, okay. And when I speak of unwanted pregnancies, both male and female, and I don't mean men can have pregnancies, men getting women pregnant when they didn't want to. Okay? So, with that being said, I am going to keep it moving.
Because the truth is, when we make our own decision to become sexually active, we aren't setting ourselves up to lose anything at all. We hope.
You can, if you are when you make the choice to become sexually active, you have to be fully aware of the consequences and the construct that you live in this society. It's not the fact that you had sex. Like I said, it's about consciousness. It's about the validity of how many fingers have been in this water. I stuck my finger in this water, I'm going to drink it. But if I know 3 other fingers have been in this water, I may not be inclined to drink it. Now there needs to be an investigation as to what these fingers were doing prior to drinking this water. As gross as that sounds. So now when you find out that finger number 1 was a stand-up person, keeps himself clean, hasn't stuck his finger in other people's waters, hasn't stuck his finger anywhere else, his hands are free and clear. You might be inclined to want to be able to drink the water then. But then you find out finger number 2 sticks their finger everywhere that it can fit. And then he stuck it in this water. I don't know if I want to drink this water or not. The government is going to have to come in and tell me. And when I say the government, I'm being facetious here, so YouTube don't come for me. But the government has to come in and tell me that this water is safe to drink. Meaning we're going to have to go get tested. We're going to have to figure out some things. And we're going to have to know if you have good judgment in whether or not, if it was just that this person is very convincing, this person could fool me, this person could fool just about anybody, versus you are just dumb and you fell for anything. Or you didn't fall for anything at all. You chose them of sound mind and body because you were desperate and you lacked the mental clarity and the mental fortitude to be able to decide that that person was not safe for you because you were in need and you have no self-control. Right? Same goes for the guy, because it's both sides of the fence we're looking at here. All right? Intimacy, self-insight. You don't gain intimacy, you gain intimacy, but intimacy is not supposed to be shared by dozens of people. Everybody should not know how you work. I'm just going to say everybody shouldn't know how you work. Think about it. There's a reason why your iPhone has a lock on it. There's a reason why your computer has a lock on it. Because you want to know why computers, doors, iPhones, and things of that nature have locks on it? Because everybody knows how it works. And in order to keep it safe, we must put a lock on it. Yes, on the surface, we all know how a penis works. We all know how a vagina works. However, we all know how a booty hole works. We all know how a mouth works. But the difference is there are intimate things that must be known about an iPhone versus an Android, a door, a sliding glass door versus a regular door versus a biometrically open door, that is intimate to those specific types of doors and types of things that only work when it is utilized in the proper way, simply as put. Like, for instance, you need a key to open my door. If everybody has the key to open my door, then what good is having a door? If everybody and their mama knows how to get me going, what's the point? You have to know me in order to get me going. You can't just get me going because you rubbed up against it. You have to know me. You have to know what I like. You have to know how to get me started. You have to know what to say, what to do. So now imagine if there's 100 dudes that knows how to get you started. On the flip side, imagine if there's 100 women that knows how to get you started. How intimate are you really at that point? Seriously, how intimate are you? You're not very intimate at all. I've always wanted to know, how does that work with somebody in the sex work industry? How does that work? How do you be intimate? How do you get married and be intimate with somebody that gets poked regularly by other people other than you? Or how does it work when every other woman has done things with you, and now you got to come home and the wife has to get you going? How does that work? Everything that can be done to you has been done to you. How do you get excited? How do you get aroused? How does it work for you to get to the point where you now can perform for your spouse? Male, female, transgender, doesn't matter. If everybody and their mom is doing everything to you, how do you get your motor started? Now we have push button motors, but guess what? You have to have a key. So when we talk about losing versus gaining, you have lost a piece of yourself every time you give it away. The joke is, And I know that there's going to be some people that are going to ask this question. What's the difference between a woman who is married and has sex 1,000,000 times versus a woman who has sex once with 1,000,000 men? I can tell you, again, only one person can unlock that door, whereas everybody can get into yours. And vice versa. So if you are a guy that has had sex with 20,000 women, what does that mean? That means that there's 20,000 women out there that can unlock you, that can get to you and get to the point where they know how to get you going. Whereas you had sex with one woman 20,000 times. Okay. She's the only one that can get you. She's the only one that can move you. She's the only one that can get you going in that fashion because nobody else knows how to do it like she does it. And this is part of the problem now. In our society, it's all about whatever. You're down for whatever. I know I sound like an old fogey right now, but I don't care. The problem is we don't know how to control our urges. And there's plenty of ways to do that.
Oh, we are gaining things like intimacy, self-insight, pleasure, and empowerment.
So every time you give yourself away, you are empowered. Make that make sense. Sure, you gain pleasure, but on the top of the gaining the pleasure, you lose value in yourself. Never mind of what other people value of you or value you at, you lose value in yourself every time you seek pleasure from a stranger. Self-insight. Yeah, you're going to gain some self-insight because when you peer into yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and you gain insight to yourself as to you lack self-control, how are you going to feel about yourself? So that being a virgin thing isn't all that not so bad now, is it? I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But at the same time, what I am saying is don't sit here and act like virginity has no purpose. Because it does. It very much so does. And those who choose the path of virginity, I salute you. I couldn't do it. I didn't do it. Let's put it that way. I didn't stay on the path of virginity before marriage. Did not do it. But then I gained insight to myself and saw what I was lacking as a human being, saw what I was lacking as a man, saw that I was not ready to do this. I was physically ready to do it, but I was not ready to do it, emotionally ready to do it. Sure, I had a lot of pleasure, but then guess what? What did it get me? What did it get me? A moment of joy? A moment where I feel something, but then after it's over, then what? What if that person was not special to me? What if that person was just a person? Did it really feel anything? Because I can guarantee you there is a huge difference in your pleasure when you do it with someone that you love and care about and trust, as opposed to doing it with somebody that looks good. That Gok 3000, yeah, that's one thing. But that's the universal lock. What about the one that has the universal key? What about the one that has the key that gets you the way you get got? Imagine going to a restaurant, and every time you go to this restaurant, this one waiter, waitress comes up and asks you the usual, How does that make you feel? It makes you feel good, doesn't it? Because they know you. You've been here so many times that they know you so well that they know how you want your steak, the rarity, what type of steak you want, what your sides are, and what you want to drink. Before you open your mouth, they already know. It feels great, right? But then imagine going to a restaurant now where this is what we got and it all tastes good. We don't care what you order, just order. Sure, you're going to have a pleasant experience because it tastes good, but that feeling, and they treat everybody the same. And when I say they treat everybody the same, every waiter, waitress should be treating every customer the same. But when they know you, they don't treat you the same. Whether you're famous or whether you're not so famous. But if you go there frequently and they know you, they will treat you differently. And it feels so much better when somebody knows what you want before you even have to ask. It feels good. It makes you feel so much better when they know you want an extra slice of cheesecake after you ordered the first one. But if they give everybody cheesecake, they give everybody 2 slices of cheesecake, they give everybody a T-bone steak, well done. They give everybody A1 sauce. They give everybody a bottle of whatever. How special do you feel now? She does this to everybody. I don't feel so great now. He does this to everybody. I don't feel so great now. Oh, did he buy you those specific flowers? Oh, did she buy you this specific cologne? Oh, did she buy you these specific sneakers? Oh, did he buy you this specific ring or jewelry? Oh, I got one too. Oh, I got those too. They gave it to me too. How special do you feel now that you know that every girl he's ever slept with got a pair of Jordans? That every man that she's ever slept with got a bottle of wine to go home with. How special do you feel? That trick with the tongue, oh, does it all the time with me. And all of a sudden, all y'all women, however many women there are, y'all start comparing notes to what he does. Oh, he does that with me. Yep, does that with me too. Yep, does that with me too. He ain't never do that with me. Ooh, that even hurts worse. On the flip side, yo, she did this. Yo, she does that. Yo, she does this. She never did that with me. Ooh, dang, bro. She really didn't like you. But even so, damn, she did it with everybody. I thought I was special when she did that. I thought I was special when she did this to me. Nope, she did it with everybody. So this whole thing about intimacy, you're gaining it, you're not gaining it, you're losing it. You're losing intimacy because now everybody gets the same service. And when I say the same service, I mean the same service. You get the same steak, you get the same potatoes, you get the same salad, you get the same juice box. You don't get anything different. When you go to a restaurant and you get the same service, you might be treated similarly, but you're not treated the same. And that's what intimacy is. When you get your lobster, I get my steak, and you get your chicken, we all got different things from the same person in this restaurant. And then when they treat us a certain way, they know us. That's intimacy. How many orders do you think a waiter or waitress will be able to remember off the top of their head based on the individual that walked in? They won't. Most of them won't. If you're a repeat. Now, it depends on how often you show up. If you show up once a year, they're not going to, if you show up once a year, they're not going to remember you for the first 3 years. Maybe the first 4 years, if there's still a waiter there or a waitress there. They're not going to remember you. However, after 4 years of you bringing your spouse to this restaurant for your anniversary, every single time, they're going to remember you. And then they're going to be like, are y'all having the usual? Because the last 3 times y'all were here, y'all ordered this, and this. Oh, before we go though, we have new things on the menu. Would you like to try them? Maybe you want to expand on your dining experience. Sound familiar? Oh, we got this now. Oh, we got shrimp scampi now. Would you like to try the shrimp scampi? You know, I haven't had shrimp scampi ever. Let's try it. But I'm trying it with who? And I'm trying it where? The same restaurant, with the same waitress, with the same woman that I've always been having my steak with. So now flip it. 7 years down the road from the time I tried shrimp scampi. Now every time I get a steak, I get shrimp scampi on the side. Notice what happened? They still remember me. And they still remember that I liked the shrimp scampi when I tried it the first time. So the next 7 times I showed up, they gave it to me. The usual? Yes. Now all of a sudden you got chicken and all of a sudden it's too much. I don't want all this. No, I can't eat all of that. So when they come back the next week and they ask me the usual, not with that chicken stuff, because that's just too much for me. Now they know how I like it. Now it's the usual. It's too many items. I had a seafood. I had a beef product. They know that that's the extent of my capacity for my level of enjoyment. Sounds like intimacy, doesn't it? That empowers you. That empowers you to keep going. That empowers you to try new things with your spouse. That empowers you to be more intimate, to get to know what it is you like and you don't like. And feel safe with that individual to try those things. And then when you realize that you like that, you can ask for it again without judgment. If that person is willing to serve you. Now, if you turn around and tell your waitress, I want live squid, but they don't sell live squid, but then all of a sudden you make it happen that live squid appears at the restaurant, I don't know if that waitress is willing to serve you because they don't want to see the food moving as they present it to you. You might have to find yourself another waitress. You might have to find yourself another waiter. They may not vibe with you on that. However, if they can, they will serve whatever it is that you ordered.
All of these myths around sex and virginity can be so hurtful and overwhelming. But here's
only reason why it can be hurtful and overwhelming is because you're out there indiscriminately either being penetrated or penetrating anything that moves. That's how it can be overwhelming. When people start judging you and they're like, ugh, how many bodies? Nah, fam. Notice, not how many interactions, how many bodies. There's a difference. There's a huge difference in body count versus sexual activity. Because you could have one body and 20,000 acts. Does that mean anything? Again, key to lock theory, right? If everybody had the PIN code to my phone, how safe is my phone? Not very safe, is it? So, when we talk about STDs and STIs in that fashion, what you're failing to realize is that it now comes to the point where nobody can do anything. STIs and STDs, you know what? Come out of this real quick. So we're going to just close this up real fast, and then we're just going to go here. Now what we're going to do is type in, let's go here, sexually transmitted diseases. Okay. Let me see something. So, as you can see, super gonorrhea is also referred to super resistant gonorrhea. It is a case of the commonly sexually transmitted disease, STD, that resists typical treatments from antibiotics. You don't even got regular gonorrhea anymore. You got super gonorrhea. Hair turns blonde, eyes turn blue, yellow aura glowing around it. Crazy. You ain't even got black hair no more. Your gonorrhea doesn't even have black hair no more. Make that make sense. If left untreated, gonorrhea can increase a woman's risk of developing HIV infection, infertility, or ectopic pregnancies. Okay? Just putting it out there. I need y'all to understand that it's just not this simple nonsense that this woman is talking about.
Here's the one truth you should remember. Sex is defined by one thing and one thing only: you.
No. No. Sex is defined by the people you interact with as well. You choose who you have sex with. You define your sexuality, but you don't define what sex is. You can define that you are heterosexual, homosexual, pansexual, asexual, bisexual. You can do all of that. That's what you can do. That's how you define sex. You can't determine what virginity is, because that is not a construct that is meant for you to define. Virginity is a construct, but virginity is a construct set up to keep us all safe. Some people are going to lie about their virginity because they're wanting to run from the shame of it, if the shame is warranted. Okay? But again, one time, two times, one person with multiple times with one person is not shameful. This indiscriminate sex that we're having is shameful. That is shameful. Body on body on body on body, shameful. And like I just told you before about the water analogy, the finger in water analogy, eventually you can define your water as water all you want to, but your water isn't pure water anymore, because what is in your water is a bunch of fingers. It's now finger water. So I'm going to land this plane. This is where we all fail to understand the nature of humanity. This is why we don't live good. This is why we continue to struggle, not only as a society, but we continue to struggle in our day-to-day lives because we do not have the capacity for discipline and self-control. Not everything is meant to be had all at once. Like the great Muhammad Ali said, everything precious in the world is hidden. Everything that's precious in the world is hidden. You have to dig to find it. Diamonds, rhodium, platinum, gold, silver, iron, nickel. You have to dig to find it. The minerals that now makes your cell phones work, that you have to dig to find it. Right? So now, here we are trying to influence children into misguidedly have indiscriminate sex because it's defined by them. Not you, the parent, by them. This is why your kids struggle with the things that they struggle with, because if you are raising your children without a level of discipline and self-control, without a level of structure, without a system, then guess what's going to happen? Chaos. And with chaos comes a bevy of STIs that haven't even been defined yet. And then the conspiracy theories will flourish because the government is the one who did this. Do not come for me, YouTube. I'm not saying that. I am literally debunking it. Because if you're having indiscriminate sex and you're mixing your juices with somebody else's juices, you're mixing your viral loads with someone else's viral loads, they might combine to form Voltron. And that is when Voltron exists. And then Voltron, which is now we know as HIV and AIDS, is now, because it's now treatable and it is now maintainable to a point where people don't die suddenly, the stigma is now diminished. But that doesn't mean a new Voltron will not emerge. You do not want those problems. You do not want to find out what the worst of it will be. Eddie Murphy once joked that you stick it in and then all of a sudden it just falls off. We don't know if that's not real. We don't know if that's not possible. If we keep pushing the envelope, we might find out where the bottom is. And then that bottom, you don't want to, then all of a sudden now it just shows on you. You start glowing neon green the minute you poke the wrong poker. Or you poke the wrong hole. Or you rode the wrong horse. I want you guys to, in closing, go ahead and if you have, in fact, like what you heard or agree with anything that I've said, feel free to click the like button. Go ahead and click the subscribe button. And don't forget to click the all notifications button so that way you get every bit of information that I put out. Have a nice day. Be the best you. Class is Stoutt.